Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. If anybody's here, how is the auto? Hey, Richard Huff. Hey, Chaz. Welcome to the stream. Hey, Sasquatch Aquatics. Welcome to the stream. Since Corey and Jimmy are still going on, I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up at all. I know that they tend to run over a little bit, and that's fine with me. Thanks, Richard and Sasquatch. I don't really have an axe to grind today. Yeah, Chaz, I'm not so sure about that. I don't invest near the money in my effort that Corey does, and I've got to take my hat off to him for all the money he pours into trying to get it perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. If you're looking for perfect, you better keep moving on. But I did want to... I've been neglecting my random tips, and they're coming out of this 500 ways to be a better fish keeper, freshwater fish keeper, hints and tips from a team of experts. Hey, Cobweb Cavern, welcome to the stream. This is from the Better Feeding section. Pygmy puffers will help to control snail numbers. Freshwater pufferfish have rabbit-like teeth that continue to grow throughout their life. Snails form part of their natural diet, so if your tank is infested with conical-shelled Malaysian live-bearing snails which live in the gravel substrate, try introducing some pygmy puffers. They will keep snail numbers down, and chewing on the shells will stop their teeth from growing too long. Well, that may not be the most helpful tip, but perhaps it can give us a starting point to talk about stuff. I have had tanks in the past that have just been overrun with Malaysian snails. They tend to, Malaysian trumpet snails tend to really overrun a tank, and my advice would be assassin snails, to add assassin snails, because a pufferfish, unless it's a species only tank, or unless you're going to throw some fish in there that you're not too proud of, in the sense that you don't mind if the pufferfish eats a few. Puffers can be kind of fish kept best singularly, in the sense that they may eat all their tank mates if they're given a chance. But assassin snails will most likely only eat other snails in the tank. So I guess for that tip I would have to add an addendum. You know, you can get loaches. Loaches will eat snails. Most snails I don't really see as pests, but Malaysian trumpet snails can be pests. I have had tanks where when I finally, the tank went dry and I had already removed all the fish, and when I finally got in there into the substrate to pull it out, it was solid with Malaysian trumpet snail shells in there. So those snails can get to be a pest really quickly. First off, I'd like to thank, hey Lord Vader, welcome to the stream. Hey KZ Karen Ellis, welcome to the stream. I'd like to thank you guys for spending some of your Saturday with me. I've had a flurry of videos come out lately, but it was mostly all aquatic experience related stuff. So I haven't really put out many videos that were directly fish keeping related, but I'm sure I'll get back to that pretty soon. I did my video today. You know, I've been hey Dank Tanks, welcome to the stream, man. My video today was based on me getting the sticker pack from Jason at Jadron Aquatics, and I really enjoyed the tactile sense of having those stickers in my hand and looking at different people's stickers. Dank Tanks, I noticed one of your stickers was in there. Chaz, I'm not sure if you have done that yet. I didn't notice Chaz's fish channel in the stickers. But you can go to Jadron Aquatics, and the link to it is in that video that I did today, and talk to Jason and send him an image file, and he will print you out stickers. I think I got about 25 or 30 of them of my own. Yes, there are stickers, Chaz, and I would highly recommend that you get it, because not only do you get like 30 of your own stickers, but you also get one of all of the other stickers that he has already made. So if you order yours today, Chaz, you should get one of my stickers as well. Now, I know a lot of people, they're not very big. Here's one of mine, and I think you can recognize that this is the avatar that I use. This was the picture itself. Hey, Joel, Glass Boxes, welcome to the stream. The picture itself is this image. Let's see, I can give you a better look at this. Oops. This is the image that I got Priscilla to draw for me. I'm not sure how well you can see that. But I then Priscilla, and in some cases Jimmy from Aquarium Co-op, took this image and pasted it onto a... Smokey, what are you doing, mister? Sorry, guys. My cat is creating disturbance, as cats are wont to do. Anyway, you can get one of these stickers. Let's see. Well, that just does not want to come through clearly with this light I've got. Anyway, it's glaring. They're not very big, but they are really nice, you know, and it's something that I think that everybody ought to take advantage of while this is going. Yeah, this is, hey, IFG, welcome to the stream, man. I hope you noticed that I used your intro this last video that I did, and thank you very much for that. And I really enjoyed doing your intro for you. This is one of my red Aquarium Co-op shirts that I got at Aquatic Experience, and this was a special version in red that basically only came out at Aquatic Experience. So kudos to Corey for bringing so many of them. There were times when you couldn't see any part of the crowd that didn't have a red Aquarium Co-op t-shirt on it. I thought that was really wonderful. If any of you guys in here my regulars that don't know IFG, and IFG stands for Inquisitive Fish Guy, I want very much to get you to go and look at his channel and learn from Evan. Evan knows fish keeping as well as any of us. You know, the term expert gets thrown around a lot, and it kind of loses its meaning when everyone's an expert. And I'm not going to try to tell you that IFG is an expert, but I learned from watching his videos. And if I learned from watching his videos, I'm pretty sure a lot of you can learn from watching them too. KZ Carinella says, been a long time IFG sub, and yes. Chaz says he got a brand new platinum beta. Awesome. Those are pretty cool fish. I'm not a big fan of anabands or air breathers. I have kept Grommies before, and I have kept betas before. Betas, however you want to say it. But I don't know, a male beta, hey Sergeant Tank, welcome to the stream, is a fish that pretty much needs to be in its own aquarium. And for that reason, I have kind of shied away from keeping them lately. I don't have that many aquariums to use. And but I'm proud for you, Chaz, that you got one. I know you just got your new rack set up, and 150 guppies for a platinum beta. That's you know, it may be a little bit low, but it's you know, that the money you were getting for guppies, but they were probably smaller guppies. So the store has to keep a profit margin going on. KZ Karen Ellis says, I'm a beta keeper 30 plus years. Congratulations on that. I'm not trying to diss anabands. I'm just saying that tank space wise, you know, I noticed that on Lucas's live stream, someone asked him about feeding live fish to a shovelnose catfish. And Lucas said, I don't have a clue what to tell you there because I don't keep shovelnose catfish. And Lucas has 200 tanks. So unless an area is something that you really want to keep, or unless an area of fish species is something that, like, someone's given you one or something like that, you know, sometimes tank space ends up being a limiting factor. Gee, only 14 years breeding betas, huh, Chaz? They're beautiful fish. Platinums, you know, I've spent a lot of time watching Inglorious Beta's channel because Jeanne is someone that I highly respect, and she is so immersed in her corner of the hobby, you know, with the betas and the fish that she does. You know, she really has a handle on how to talk to people about betas, how to express the knowledge that she has gained over the years about betas. And yeah, KZ Karen Ellis says Gianna rocks, and she does. You're right. That says it in a nutshell. But I did notice from some of the watching that I have done that some of the metallic betas are pretty open to tumors. to getting cancerous tumors or benign tumors. I'm not sure which they are, but it's interesting to me that the process of breeding down to a metallic, and my understanding is that a platinum beta is also a metallic. Now I may be wrong on that. I know a lot of them are mainly kind of a bluish metallic tint, but I think platinum betas are. Lord Vader asks, I wonder why that is, and I've not studied it. I have no scientific basis for making this remark, but I think it is a product of breeding, that the process to get to a true, Chaz says that it's to do with the scale layers of the fish. Yeah, Smokey, come up here and say hi to everybody, since you're trying to make yourself so involved. Say hi to everybody on YouTube. I would go with that, Chaz. That scale layering may have something to do with it, because I really don't know. I think that fish coloring is a very, very interesting subject. Yeah, this is Smokey. He's our new addition to the family. My wife is in Atlanta for 2 weeks. I think, Chaz is talking about the layering of scales and skin on metallic betas and why they can get tumors. But I think, okay, Jeremy, I'll leave the light on out there for you. You see him biting a pea wadding out of me? Oh, I will get that cat. Oh, I'm gonna get you. Oh, I'm gonna get you. Why you get up here and purr and then bite me hard, huh? Are you a wild animal? Are you a wild Oh, I see you putting those ears down. I see you. I see you. Ouch. Yeah, Casey Carinella says I need a kitten. Lost my darling 14-year-old, so I'm ready. That's the one downside to pet keeping, is that we live longer than most of the pets that we keep, and it's really rough losing a pet. Anyway, I was trying to work my way up to the point that I think if you're someone that's been in the hobby for a long time, you begin to understand the variety of colors that our fish can produce. They've got cells in their skin that can produce different colors at different times, and under stress or in a pecking order where they are subdominant, you will get a myriad of color variations from your fish. I've line bred Jack Dempsey's for 10 years straight, and it was incredible to me the variety of coloration that just one individual Jack Dempsey could display, especially the males, but the females just as well. They have scales, they have skin layers that are all have these, and the scientific name of the cells in the skin that produce color, it's not pigmentation because they can change it, and there's a name for those, but my brain isn't pulling it up. I haven't looked it up. They can produce different coloration patterns depending on the substrate, depending on the clarity of the water that they're in, depending on whether they're breeding or they're subdominant. You can just get some incredible variation in the colors that one fish of one specific species can produce. And I think that that's true for betas as well. They Lord Vader says, I wish someone would find a small freshwater bioluminescent fish. That's my dream. Photospores. Yeah, I think you may be right. You may be right saying photospores. I'm trying to think of a bioluminescent fish. You know, mostly for Cobweb Cavern says chromatophores, and that may be right as well. And there may be a combination of both, if I'm not mistaken, because there's more than one kind that are at play, you know, during a fish's time. Chris Fish Room, welcome to the stream. We're not talking about any kind of particular subject today, Chris. I'm just blathering as I am wont to do. So that's always been a topic that has fascinated me, just because of the amount of time I have spent observing fish. Chromatophores. I think that's the correct pronunciation of that. And yes, that's probably right. I noticed in the last couple of weeks, before and since I got back from aquatic experience, that my teleocyclas are reaching an adult age, and they're really starting to color up. And it's amazing that all this time they've been basically this little white length of fish, and now all of a sudden when they cross, you know, I've got half sand in my 110 gallon that they're in. So when they're on the sand, they basically stay white. But when they cross into the section that has pea gravel on top of Eco Complete, and both of which are fairly dark, there's some light colored stuff in it, but my plant section has a cap of pea gravel. They start expressing all those colors. And they're getting to the point now where they're starting to get into the breeding age region. And I'm getting all kinds of colors out of those fish. I've tried filming it a couple of times, but my camera just does, I don't know whether it's my poor photography skills or whether it's the lighting that I'm using or what, but it really fails to express through the camera all the different color variations that are going on with these fish. You know, rainbow fish, all of the fish that we keep, even right down to the xanthic whitefish, they all have variations in their scaling, in their skin, in their slime coat that enable them to blend in with their surroundings or camouflage themselves or show some behavior, whether it's, you know, defensive or breeding or something. All of these fish have ways of coloring themselves differently when they need to. And it's really a fascinating subject. So what's been going on with you guys? I'm at a standstill on things to talk about. That's one of the things. This is my 40th live stream now, and it's getting more and more difficult to come up with a wide subject that I can ramble on about from personal experience and book reading. over the course of an hour if no one's asking me questions. And it's really difficult to come up with a fresh topic. You know, that's the one thing that has surprised me. You know, there's a million things to talk about in fish keeping, but most of them I can talk about in about 10 or 15 minutes and then I'm done, you know. So as I go along here, I try to come up with topics. Lord Vader says, just got some nice new plants for my tank. I noticed that Corey is having a sale on plants right now. So if you are an aquarium co-op customer or you live in a place where you can get plants shipped to you, I would have to advise you to go check out it's 25% off, you know, and that's going to pretty much eat up shipping and, you know, give you some off on the plants as well. So, Cobweb's Cavern asked me, Dwayne, best option for a tiny fish room, heat tanks individually or a small fan heater? And I guess that my best advice would be yes, as in both. I wouldn't recommend an electric heater in the sense of one of the you know, that has glowing coils in it, and then a fan blows air across them, because I really don't think that they're as efficient. What I would strongly recommend is an oil heater. They look like old radiators did. You can buy them for about $40. And these oil heaters will not produce a great deal of heat. You know, you could probably set it on 70 or whatever your lowest tank parameter needs to be, you know, if it's 68 or something like that. And it's not going to heat the entire room to a really warm place. But what it will do is get the room warm enough where your heaters will not have to struggle if it gets desperately cold in the room. You know, if like my bedroom will get into the lower 60s in the wintertime. This is a 100 plus year old house, and it has lath and plaster walls which have no insulation in them. So the bedroom is on the north wall, so it really gets to be cold in the wintertime. There's a lot of cold air that seeps in through windows and stuff like that. So my room can get into the lower 60s, and it's tough on a heater to try to go from 68 degrees to 80 degrees. It really has to overwork itself to do that. So I think that in a small fish room, and this bedroom I would call a small fish room, it's only got 2 tanks and a scud bucket in it, but in that sense it's a small fish room. I'm intending to add more, because what I've noticed is that with my tanks running, the room stays warmer in the wintertime. So my suggestion to you would be a combination of both. That tank heaters that are larger than the tank requires, and an oil radiate heater that will keep the room temperature close enough to what the tanks need to be, so that it is not overworking the heaters in the tank. The amount of energy that you will save by that radiant oil heater bringing the temperature up in the room, as opposed to the tank heaters themselves having to bring it up will more than repay you on your electric bill having a oil radiant heat. You'll recover the cost of the heater itself and way more. Not only that, but your heaters, tank heaters, will last longer, not having to work so hard. Cobweb Cavern says, yeah, I know that kind of oil heater you mean. Good idea to combine. When I say tiny, I mean tiny. Going to convert a cupboard, so don't think I'll even need a large size of heater at all. Well, if the fish that you're going to keep, if you're keeping betas in a cupboard, then I would say forego the tank heaters and just leave enough room in the middle to slide that radiant oil heater in there. And it should keep the entire room warm enough, you know, if it's just a little small room. Now you may have to watch, because what you'll end up with in a tiny enclosed space like that with radiant heat or tank heaters, either one going on, is that hot air rises and it's going to be warmer at the top than it will be at the bottom. So the tanks that are down near the floor may be too cold, or the tanks that are up way high may get way too warm. So I would suggest to you that you try to put the fish that can take the most heat at the top and the fish that can do with colder water. Chaz asks me, what's the best way to clean a tank on the ground? And I assume by that you mean that you've got the tank off of the stand and that you have it down on the floor or the ground. And my preferred method has always been to take a tank outside. I mean, you know, if you've got a 5-gallon tank that you're cleaning, you can put it in your sink. Or if it's a 10-gallon, you can take it and do it in the shower. You know, if you've got a large shower or a bathtub, you can clean something small like that. But most of my tanks, I've always preferred to do 29 gallons or above, you know, like 30s and 40s and 100s and 150s. All of those need to go outside. The big ones need to go outside. And you can lay a blanket on the ground if you think that there's a lot of rocks or something that might damage the tank. And my preferred method is to use whatever I'm going to use to clean the tank. Get the tank wet with a water hose. Then use your cleaner on the inside of the glass and cleaner on the outside of the glass. And then I just rinse the crap out of it, because I hate to think that I'm going to kill fish with any residue that might be left on a tank. And I was supposed to do my 55-gallon this year, but due to some unforeseen incidents, I didn't get around to doing that, partly because I went and got all of Jim's fish that I could get from him that weren't spoken for by other people. And dealing with those fish in the new tanks that came out of what I brought home from Jim's just kind of threw everything off for me. And then now it's so cold out there, I'm not sure I even want to go out into the garage. There's no heat in my garage, so I'm not sure I want to even go. It's a separate building from my house. A lot of people that live around this area, and like I said, this house is over 100 years old, and most of the garages that are separate and behind houses here were used as carriage garages. The people had horses and carriages, and they would leave them in those buildings. Kind of an interesting fact about an older neighborhood. A lot of times things that you think might be aren't, because it's got something to do with something entirely different. Chaz also asks, I wonder if you could use a small boiler like a central heating system. You could. A lot of people keep their fish rooms in the basement where the water heater can produce a lot of heat, and where whatever heating they use can produce heat to kind of already heat the basement. Not to mention the fact that I think the normal mean temperature of the ground, and most basements are dug out of the ground. The normal mean temperature of dirt that deep in the ground is about 60 degrees all year anyway. So you're already starting at 60 degrees. You're already starting at 60 degrees, and what heat you add, the hot water tank and that kind of stuff can really add up quickly. Laura says, I admire people who stream regularly. I know I would struggle to stream for an hour or more each week. Yeah, when I first started doing it, I streamed like 3 times a week just because of the novelty of having the webcam and having the setup where I could do it. But yeah, once a week is plenty for me. I tend to wax and wane on things that I'm doing on the internet. I go in big, really excited about and interested, and then I slowly kind of, taper off to a point where, I'm kind of meh about it. I'm not meh about doing helpful videos for other people to hopefully learn from, but it gets a little harder as you go along, and people that have done it for 5 years, 6 years, KG, he did it for lots of years, and I think he finally hit the wall with it. He just, he said he was coming back, but I've yet to see him do another stream since then. So I think that Hey Ruru2, welcome to the channel. I think my advice to people would be to take it with a grain of salt. When you first start doing it, it's a novelty and it's exciting, and you feel a sense of fame. And I'm not sure if you guys have followed me, but I'm pretty much one that is anti-fame in the sense of I don't think we should be highly invested in our own fame. I've studied Buddhism for years and years and years, and I've practiced it for years and years and years. And Buddhism teaches you to not take it very hard when people are saying bad things about you. If someone is castigating you and telling you how terrible you are and what a bad job you've done, don't take that so seriously. Try and take it with a grain of salt. Try to empathize with why they might be saying that. But by the same token, don't get really full of yourself when people are telling you what a great job you're doing and how wonderful you are and you're a star and all. Don't believe your own press. Try to stay in a balance so that you can accept the compliments and the complaints equally, so that neither one of them really makes you change who you are inside. Because what comes out when you're live streaming, when you're doing videos like this, is who you are inside. And that's the important part. So if who you are inside gets you a following, and people are following you and, excited to watch you, and you take that excitement and suddenly you're just full of yourself. Who you are inside is changing because of how you're dealing with and then the who you are inside isn't the same thing coming across anymore. I'm saying that really badly, but I mean it sincerely, that, Mr. Rogers, I don't know, some of you from Europe may not know, or other places may not know who Mr. Rogers is. He had a really long-running kids show on TV that he was always so understated, always so humble, always so mild-mannered. I mean, you could say he was milquetoast, and he was being honored several years ago. It was a really big honor. I can't remember what it was, what award he was getting, but it was a big award. And his comments were that fame is a 4-letter word, and just like all the other 4-letter words, it's what you do with that fame that defines who you are as a person. And if you let fame run you off in a ditch, then the definition of who you are as a person needs to have some adjustment made to it. You need to try not to get so full of yourself that you forget what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. Lord Vader says milquetoast. So not only did I mess you up with the Mr. Rogers reference, I messed you up with milquetoast. Milquetoast is white, slimy, dripping. You can stuff it in a bottle or wrap it around a toothpick. Milquetoast is flimsy. Milquetoast is ready to fall apart at any second. So the descriptor milquetoast means someone that's not very forward or... Hey, Vinyl Richie, welcome to the stream, man. You guys probably don't know who Vinyl Richie is, but to me, he is very much a hero, and it's in a completely different vein. Vinyl Richie does vinyl community, VC videos, and anyone that's interested in records or albums or music, I would strongly recommend to go check out Vinyl Richie's. I really like Vinyl Richie's methodology in doing his. He takes no prisoners in his videos, and I really love that about him. That there is no quibbling, no. He goes for the jugular vein of the subject, and I really value his opinions. Vinyl Richie, both of the VC videos that I've done have been in some way a response to you, man, just because of how much I enjoy your videos. So I'm honored that you would join the live stream. Jason Gray says, I just bought my first vinyl after thousands of CDs. Well, Jason, depending on your setup and what kind of turntable you have, you're in for a treat listening to that compared to all of the we were just talking about milquetoast, and the comparison of the sound of a piece of wax, a vinyl record, to a CD. The CD is milquetoast. It really is. Okay, Vinyl Richie, I'm going to say bad things about you now because I don't want you getting a swell head on me, man. Another time and money rabbit hole I'm afraid I'm falling into. Yeah. That's very much true. And the only reason that I'm investing a lot of time that I have invested in the vinyl community is that I have a huge record collection. I've got about 1,400 records and 45s and probably 300 or 400 CDs. So I'm not buying. The last vinyl record I bought was Joanna Newsom's double album, and I also bought some Alistair Richards, who I would strongly recommend, and I did recommend. Well, Vinyl Richie, I'm really glad that you're enjoying this feed. It means a lot to me, and I know I'm ignoring my fish fam, but it means a lot to me that you see me as someone that you're interested in watching just because of who you are. That's why it means something to me. It's not your fame or your vinyl collection, which I am jealous of, but I'm not really jealous of. Cobweb Cavern says, I used to DJ years ago. Love vinyl now, but it was a pain having to cart about loads of records back then. Oh man, yeah. Listen, I tell you that I've got 1,400 albums. I've moved 7 or 8 times since I've had all those albums, and it's a huge pain in the ass. My best advice is liquor bottle boxes, because they make them really strong to hold all that weight of the liquor bottles, and they're just the perfect size for, what is it, fifths? No, it's not fifths. Pint? No, it's not pints. Anyway, the normal size bottle of liquor, the boxes that they ship those in, go to a liquor store and catch them when they dump their boxes and grab up a ton of them and use those to ship them with. They've got handles on them. It makes it a lot easier. That's just a little bit of my experience in vinyl shipping. Okay, guys, we're coming up. Lots of weight. I had custom flight cases back when I was DJing. Well, that's a much more expensive version of what I was telling you. DJing is something that I often thought what a fun job it would be, but I'm kind of a chain yanker when it comes to music. I like to jerk people's chain about the types of music that they listen to and throw things in there that are completely alien to whatever they're used to listening to, but that I happen to know are really good, or that my opinion of is that they are really good, so that it widens their horizons. So I'm not sure that I would have done very well as a DJ, because, throwing a Joanna Newsom song in on a rap party that I was DJing might not have been a really great idea. I'm sorry to the fish fam for blowing you out of the water with this vinyl community stuff, but the vinyl community is also very, very vibrant and very valuable to me. There's 3 communities. Jason's talking about a rabbit hole and a money waste and a time waste. There's 3 communities that I'm really invested in on YouTube. One is the camera community, because I'm a newbie photographer. I just basically got my first real camera several months ago, and so I'm really trying to learn from some of the really good people that are on YouTube doing camera stuff. The other is the fish community, because I feel like the fish community is one where I can offer something, where I can help, where I can give advice from my experience, good or bad. and I need to learn more about the fish, because the fish keeping hobby is one that never ends. There is no bottom to the science in fish keeping. The more you know about fish keeping, the more you will understand how little you know about fish keeping, because it just keeps spreading out wider and deeper as you go along. Bob Steenfott had Rachel O'Leary on. Rachel O'Leary's intellect is one that I highly respect. And so I asked her what kept her passionate about her hobby, and that's exactly what she said. That no matter how much any one expert in this hobby knows, there is a whole world of knowledge out there that they don't have a clue about, or that they only have a passing grasp of, because they don't keep those kinds of fish, or they haven't studied those kinds of fish, or they don't do salt, or they don't do invertebrates, or they don't do coral. You know, there's vast areas of speciation and variety in the fish that we keep, and no one knows it all. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we need to band together and use each other's experience to cobble together enough knowledge to help our fish thrive. And, you know, but the third thing that I really enjoy, excuse me, the third community that I really enjoy on YouTube is the vinyl community. And it's because these guys have have experienced going to different concerts. Every part of the country, every part of the world has its own little incubation of music. The local talent that's there, the talent that comes in, like Louisville across the river from me, Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky doesn't sound like it would be a great hotbed of musical talent, but it is. And even the little town I live in has produced some really decent musicians. So the vinyl community gives us a window into each place where these different people that are posting live, and they know the local color, the local talent from their area, and they have gone out and listened to these guys. They've gone out and gone to the little bar shows and the little club shows and watched these groups get better at what they do and come up, and that's invaluable as far as getting information about the talent. Music is something that I've always loved. I've never been a musician because I don't have the time gene that allows you to play in time, and to I'm just, my motor coordination is just not such that I'm able to really first, Vinyl Richie says, I was always intimidated to try saltwater tanks. Me too, Vinyl Richie. I have never kept a saltwater tank. And the intimidation on my part was as much the money involved with keeping them, and also the fact that very few of those fish can be actually bred in an aquarium. So Cobweb Caverns asked me, what's my favorite 3 bands and artists? And, you know, this question, you know, it's like asking me what my favorite fish is. And the truth is whatever came in the box last week, that's my favorite fish. Whatever's new to me, whatever's something that I've just seen. But if you were to ask me overall, who do I really love? Whose work really speaks to me, really is from my quote generation, is meaningful to me? I'd have to say number one is the Allman Brothers. Boy, it's such a tough question. It's such a question that has no real answer, because it's whoever I just got done playing or whoever I just got done hearing. I don't know that I can give you the other two, because it varies so much. You can watch my Vinyl Community episodes that I have put out, and there's only two. I don't think they did Jessica. They did Melissa, Sweet Melissa. Allman Brothers were a southern rock band in the vein of Ry Cooder, in the vein of there's a lot of bands that they followed up and that followed them up, but it's a definite sound. It's a definite. They were from Daytona Beach. I lived in Daytona. I say they were from. They lived in Daytona Beach. Their mother lived in Daytona Beach, Florida, and so I got to know those guys, and they were just phenomenal artists, and mostly because of Duane Allman's guitar playing. I think Duane Allman was a, once in 100 years type of player. Lionel Richie says the 3 Bs: the Beatles, Black Flag, and the Butthole Surfers. I'm a huge Butthole Surfers fan. That music is just so raw. It's so... Did the Allman Brothers do Jessica? Okay, I'm showing my... I don't remember them doing the song Jessica. But the Butthole Surfers are just such a smack in the face. And I love that. I love that you could put together a whole list of music that was very mellow and easy, and then drop a Butthole Surfer song in there, and it would just knock everything before it out of the way. I'm very much a fan of that. I always try to add a Frank Zappa song, or a jump blues song, or a really soft jazz song, something, like George Benson's Lucky Old Sun rolls around heaven all day, in a selection of Pink Floyd and heavy metal songs, because I just love that chain yank. I love that palette cleaning. Yeah, Greg Allman did have a hell of a voice, but Greg was more of the glue, I think, that held the group together. Greg is a character and a half. To me, Greg is like Johnny Ray Vaughan to Stevie Ray Vaughan. He could play piano well, but a buddy of mine was in an after-school band in Dallas, Texas, in an area called The Grove, and the members of the after-school band were the 2 guitarists, bass and guitar, the brothers from ZZ Top, Johnny and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Boz Scaggs. and him. He was a bass player. And that was the after-school band. And he said Boz Scaggs just always kind of hung to the side and watched what everyone else was doing because it wasn't really his kind of music. And Boz Scaggs is one of my favorite musicians. I know a lot of people don't really like him. But anyway, Gary Norsworthy, my buddy from Dallas, told me that Stevie Ray, even then, was working his ass off at being the best guitar player that he could be, and that Johnny Ray was just noodling around. He wasn't really trying to work as hard as his brother was. Maybe it was his recognition that his brother was always going to be a better guitarist than he was. But I feel kind of that way about Greg Allman, that Greg Allman was always the brother that recognized Jason Gray says Stevie Ray is just a whole other type of human. I couldn't agree more. And in my mind, Duane Allman was just like that too. Stevie Ray was a virtuoso in his own area, in his own type of music, just like Duane Allman was. And to kind of end up the story with my buddy Gary. Gary and I used to do road trips, where we get together and drive to Houston from Dallas, or we'd go someplace else. And at the time I was divorced, and my two youngest sons were living in Knoxville, Tennessee. And while I did lots of trips where I would drive straight up there from Dallas and drive straight back, do a turnaround, it kind of got to be a grind for me after a while. And Gary and I started doing that drive. He loved to take long road trips, to look at different places and to, feel the road under him. And on one of our trips back home after dropping my kids off, I'd get my kids for the summer. And on one of our trips coming back home without my kids, the news came over the radio station. We had just gotten close enough to Dallas to get our good station in. And the news came over the radio that Stevie had just died in the plane crash. And Gary was destroyed. I knew the guy for years and years and years and years, and he was about as hard-ass a person as I ever knew, and the tears just poured out of that man because of his personal connection to Stevie Ray and how bad that loss was. Boom, he was gone. Cobweb Caverns says Stevie Ray was an amazing guitarist in my top three with Rory Gallagher and David Gilmour. Rory Gallagher is one of the best artists that I know of that most people don't know about. Calling Card is one of my favorite albums. Bullfrog Blues, 100% Alcohol. Those are songs that I dearly love. And Rory Gallagher's passing was almost as bad for me as Stevie Ray's was. We've lost a terrible number of artists lately. Jason Gray says, just like my three favorite bands, I can't really name my three favorite guitarists. I wouldn't pick Roy Gallagher as a favorite guitarist. His skill was immense, but Roy Gallagher was more about personality and being steeped in something. If I had to pick my three favorite guitarists, Duane Allman would be one of them. I would have to say that Leo Kottke is one of my favorite guitarists, simply because of the virtuosity Hey, Vals, welcome to the stream, and I'm doing fine, and I hope you are too. Several people from the vinyl community have invaded our Fish Fam stream, and I'm tickled to death by it. So we're basically talking music here. But you guys will have to tell me to shut up because I'll talk music all day long. Lionel Richie says, I was woken up by Rory Gallagher at a music festival in 1971. Jeez, man. I'm jealous. Color me jelly, Richie. Roy was a phenomenal artist. So let's see. I picked Duane Allman, Leo Kottke. I've never been a huge fan of classical music or the classical vein of music, but Leo Kottke's guitar work just blows me away. And I don't know, it would have to be between, yes, Richie, I do this every Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So for your time, that's what, noon? 1 o'clock? I don't know. Stevie Ray Vaughan is hard not to say. Carlos Santana is hard not to say. Eric Clapton is hard not to say. I guess I would say Clapton, you know, just because of the breadth of his work and the incredible sound. And that's kind of cheating by picking two of them that are in the same vein. Thanks, Joel. You have a good Saturday, man. But you know, I'm pointing to the rock that I cut my teeth on, the musical style that I grew up with and dug into and followed and knew some of these people. Cobweb Cavern says Clapton was overrated. Runs away before the backlash. Yeah, I can't argue. You know, you could say Johnny Winter. You could say, I mean, how do you get a better guitarist than Jeff Beck? You know, Beck was one of the people that just blew my mind with his guitarist. But if I had to pick them, that's probably what I would say. All right, Vinyl Richie says he has to run, but will return on another Saturday, and I think yeah, Richie Blakemore. Yeah, just trying to pick three is really, really tough. I mean, you can call Frank Zappa a great guitarist and not be wrong. You know, Doc Watson, Don Coryell, you know, Les Paul. There's a huge range of guitarists out there. You know, you can do a top 50, but a top 3 is really tough. Zappa is one of the best technical guitarists there is. Now, you can say that everything he did was a spoof, but yeah. All right, guys, we're over the hour, and I'm wandering down VC Lane here, and like I said, I'll go on forever. I'm always ready to talk music and always ready to talk. You know, I've forgotten 3/4 of what I know about music just because I haven't been steeping myself in it like I used to. But yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to shut the stream down. Thank you for spending part of your Saturday with me. Cobweb Caverns, thanks. And thanks for being flexible enough to follow the VC part of this chat, too. I really appreciate that. All right, guys, have a good Saturday, and good luck, YouTube.